From KPRC Channel 2, this is Houston Newsmakers with Khambrel Marshall.
Good morning. Welcome to Houston Newsmakers, where I'm joined by Congresswoman Sheilia Jackson-Lee as my guest. Democrat, been representing the 18th Congressional District since 1995. And you're preparing to try to do that again, aren't you?
I am. I love serving, and I love solving problems.
So with that in mind, you got a primary, it's coming up not too long from now. What are you telling your constituents right now that are the priorities for your district?
I think it's always important to have new ideas, to have a vision for where you want your community to go, but most importantly, to be a listener. So as I've listened, certainly my priority has to be flood mitigation, continued work to restore homes after Hurricane Harvey, even though this is 2020. And we've already brought in $2.4 billion that I led on the funding to be utilized by the city and the county to really begin to dig deep to help people restore their homes. I think climate change and the environment are key elements. We are obviously beneficiaries in a negative sense of this changing climate. Obviously, Hurricane Harvey was one of the most catastrophic floods. And then environmental injustice. We have already dealt with or already confronting contamination in certain neighborhoods. We're confronting various industrial activities being placed in residential neighborhoods that we're trying to work on. And I guess lastly, I would say quality of life issues, which includes both education and the uptick, if you will, of violence or the uptick of incidences with our young Houstonians and members of the Harris County community. We've got to find ways to deal with stemming the tide of violence, gun violence that results at the hands of younger people, right, by providing not just the law enforcement, they're asking for our help, but we need wraparound services, dealing with job training, dealing with social services, dealing with family issues to be able to help them grow into the contributing adults that they should be.
Your district has changed demographically over the years as well. I mean, really over the last number of years, it's changed a lot in how it looks now demographically. How has that changed the way that you interact with your district?
I never cease making sure that I am the representative for all of my district, and all of my district, no matter what party they happen to be in, what area of the district they live in. And my staff, myself, we get to all parts of our district. When we had a very big town hall meeting, almost 1,000 people on Tuesday night, we had Hispanic residents, African Americans. We open the door, Anglos. We open the door to everyone. I'm in every aspect of it. I'm in the Heights, which is a rich historic community. Right. I'm in the Northwest. I'm in the Northeast, the Southeast, the Southwest of the district. Right. We have a very large downtown community as well. And so we try to make sure that at least they hear from us or know what we are doing by way of our public efforts and by way of the activities that we participate in for the city of Houston and our district. And we certainly make sure that through our social media that we're reaching them with information as well.
One of the biggest challenges being faced by at least a portion of your district, and I'm talking about the challenges of life and death, we're talking about the cancer cluster issues that have cropped up in the 5th Ward. I want to bring our viewers up to speed a little bit with this report from KPRC reporter Sion Rhodes.
Cynthia Stokely says she always worried about the creosote used at the rail yard on Liberty Road.
I was so paranoid.
The chemical used to treat wood rail ties is known to cause cancer, and experts say it contaminated the groundwater and created a plume underneath nearby homes.
My mother, she died from cancer, and now I have to go to the doctor for a mass they found under my breast saying that is cancer. And I've never even thought about nothing like that would happen to me.
A study by the State Health Department found what they call a cancer cluster in 5th Ward and Kashmere Gardens. Cleanup efforts by Union Pacific aren't going far enough, according to legal aid attorneys advocating for residents.
What they have not done is account for what is from one of the exposure pathways, which is possible vapor intrusion. We know that the contamination plume that we've been talking about for several years is not stable.
There's no pathway for impacted materials to have contact with the residents.
Union Pacific says its site is not the cause of the cancer cluster.
All the science that we have shows it's not transferring to residents.
Who else gonna be accountable for it? It's them. So they need to stand up and say, well, yeah, it was our fault, and just pay the cost to be the boss.
Well, there still seems to be more questions than answers about what's going on in that community. And that was one of the reasons Congresswoman Jackson Lee held a town hall meeting for concerned residents to come and voice concerns and ask questions. Famed environmental activist Erin Brockovich was there as well, lending her support and expertise. Congresswoman, what was the result of that town hall, and what do you hope will happen as a result of it going forward?
Well, you can see the intensity of the residents there. You can see the pain, but you also see outright sickness. Yeah. Even before I visited with you today, I visited with a person at Fifth Ward, and they were walking miracle with the number of cancers that they had already experienced growing up in that area. There is no way that you cannot say that there is a connection. When we requested the state to act, and they did provide us this report and said there was an uptick of the kinds of cancers that many of the people in that audience, almost 1,000 persons, had. And so here's where I am. I want solutions and results, and I don't want to get it through blame. I want to get it through acknowledgement and recognition that you contributed to this.
Who takes the lead on this? Is it state, federal, local, trying to figure it all out? Where's the lead organization?
At that town hall meeting, I had federal, state, local, and Union Pacific. I hope they got an earful, because they really have to be part of this. It can't be simply, I'm cleaning up this space and that space. So here's where we are. The lead, we're going to continue to work. We're looking to establish a Superfund, by this area becoming a Superfund priority as generated by the community. That's more dollars to clean thoroughly the soil. Yeah. Then there are federal grants to the Department of Transportation that have not been getting to this community for them to have resolutions of what kind of additional cleanup they can have. Then, of course, we hope that the city of Houston and Harris County will continue their studies and stand up for the people in terms of finding the facts, but not exonerating Union Pacific. You just can't do that at this point when there's so many people that are sick. Again, I'm not here to point blame, I'm here to get results. So what we're talking about doing is bringing all the parties together to find relief for these individuals that really need relief. And some of them will have to seek legal representation. That'll be their determination, and they'll have to be encouraged. And Erin Brockovich really encouraged them. She was a small entity that went up against a giant and prevailed for so many people that were sick or so many people that had lost their homes. We want people who are sick to be remedied, people who've lost loved ones to be remedied, and we want the neighborhood to be restored because it's historic. It's a very important part of our community.
Well, hopefully that meeting gave them all hope, and we look forward to seeing what happens as a result of that meeting going forward. We have more with Congresswoman Jackson Lee.
Keep working.
Yes, after this break, when we'll talk about what's going on at the national level. The Democratic Party is now trying to find out who's going to run against the president. We'll talk about that, and also we'll get your thoughts about the impeachment process that's going on. It's continuing to polarize our country. How do we get out of this? We'll talk about that coming up. Welcome back to Houston Newsmakers. I'm joined by Congresswoman Sheilia Jackson Lee, representing the 18th Congressional District. You are on fire about this Emancipation Trail, and this is something that you and Senator Cornyn got together on. That's breaking news right there, isn't it?
I'm on fire about it because it is historic in the time frame that we were able to achieve it. It is historic that it is the only trail in the state of Texas completely contained, only National Parks Historic Trail completely contained in the state of Texas. There are two others that are shared by two other states, and it is only the second in the history of the United States to commemorate the history of African Americans. It goes from Galveston through the trail of slaves that left the Galveston area after Captain Granger announced the emancipation of the slaves, up to Houston, Texas, with Freedmanstown, Independence Heights, and Emancipation, which is 3rd Ward. and it will be an economic boom and boost because all these trails do so, but it'll tell the story, hopefully bringing people together and be a National Historic Parks Trail.
When is that going to go into effect?
Well, we're looking for the legislation that I introduced in the House and Senator Cornyn in the Senate, moving at expeditious speed to be signed by the President in days. And so we're not going to predict, but in days, and then we will certainly let the community be part of the celebration. But I'm excited about knowing our history, and this is history for everyone.
Sure.
And this economic boom will help many of the communities from Galveston to Houston, Texas.
Let's talk about your party, which is trying to take over the White House once again. Last count I had, there were still 12 Democrats who were declared candidates running for the nomination, 16 who once were candidates who bowed out. That's a lot to keep track of. Do you have any concerns about the size of the field and the way the process has worked so far, narrowing this whole field down? It's always a messy thing.
Well, democracy is not pretty, but I'm optimistic because all of our leading candidates are beating President Trump by 2 points and above. That's a good thing. And this is now early on. So we think that as this narrows and the Democrats ultimately support and select their nominee, that nominee will have the legs, the wind beneath his or her wings to be able to distinguish and let the American people know what our values are, what we believe in, how we adhere to the rule of law, investment in America, investment in our children, that we won't hold back for the rich and the mighty, but we'll be investing in working families.
You know, one of the things I've noticed about politics in general is that the folks who are most involved in the primaries are the ones who are really active, far right, far left, far extended areas of the party. Are you concerned at all about how far left and progressive the Democratic Party might be going, maybe not able to get back to the middle enough for depending on who gets nominated, to get back in the middle to be able to grab the bigger part of the country?
You know, I know just about every one of these candidates. I've had the privilege of knowing them by being in the United States Congress. I know their hearts, I know they're patriots, I know they're concerned for this country, and I know what they want to do is not only beat President Trump, but they want the American people to believe in them and to believe in our party, that we're not for self, we're not left or right, but we are for the American people. The ideas that have been proposed, I think once articulated in a major general election, most Americans will see that this is a fair and balanced way to be equitable in helping to lift, if you will, the economic opportunities of all Americans, not just a few. All of our candidates are for education, for the environment, for health care, and protecting those with pre-existing conditions. So no, I think that we will find that middle ground with progressive ideas will be not as strange when we get into the general election.
We're looking at the impeachment trial that's been going on in the Senate now. Your House sent those articles of impeachment over to the Senate. Are you concerned about how this is going to end? Because whether or not the president is removed from office or not, we're talking about a significant polarization that continues. The articles went over with no Republicans voting on it as well. So that just kind of sends and we don't know how the Senate's going to vote. But what do you make of this polarization that really doesn't seem to have any end in sight based upon what's been going on?
Well, let me say that the facts speak for themselves. The president abused his power. He's a national security threat by holding dollars that had been appropriated by the Congress for a nation under siege, Ukraine. He, in essence, sold the Oval Office that they'd have to find dirt on his opponent, announce it, find dirt on his opponent or potential opponent, and in essence use that to say that's the only way you'll get a meeting in the Oval Office, that's the only way you'll get your monies released when you're desperate and fighting on the Eastern Front. With that in mind, we can't overcome the facts. Like my predecessor, the Honorable Barbara Jordan, I have faith in the Constitution and the people of the United States of America. This is an impeachable offense. Unlike the defense that the president is using, he abuses power. That's what the founding fathers determined. I believe it is up to the Senate to be an impartial juror and an impartial court. They have to make that determination. But if not, They will be judged in the election in 2020, and we're prepared to put our best case forward, our constitutional case forward during these proceedings. We'll all be engaged in the research and help of the team that's going forward, and then we will have to leave it to the Senate in their conscience to do the right thing and whether or not this is the way we want to run the presidency of the United States of America.
Congresswoman Jackson Lee, thank you for coming in. We appreciate it. Out of time, we never have enough time. We need to have an hour instead of this.
Look forward to it.
Yeah, I bet you would. We'll talk about more next time we see you, okay?
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
It's been a long time since we had you on here. So just ahead, the scourge of human trafficking and why there is an effort in the Houston healthcare community, starting with the Baylor St. Luke's Human Trafficking Initiative, who they hope to make a difference. That's next. It is a black eye on the city of Houston and this region. Human trafficking has been and continues to be a major problem. Estimated thousands of women are being forced into trafficking situations every year in the state. Houston's seeing many of those. Harris County DA Kim Ox says her department's arrests have more than doubled this past year, and that still is a number that's a bit more than 250 for 2019. And there is high confidence there are many more than a few hundred cases of human trafficking in our region. But how do we find them? How do we help them? That's something even the hospitals are focusing on these days, as patients they see are sometimes trafficking victims and are needing a way out. Kimberly Williams knows all about that challenge. She's a project coordinator of the Human Trafficking Initiative at Baylor St. Luke's Health and is helping train 7,000 health care providers about what to watch for, all of it part of a citywide campaign. How did this come about?
So in 2016, there was a study by the University of Texas that showed that there were over 300,000 trafficking victims in our community. And one of the points that was made about that study was that human trafficking victims come in contact with healthcare professionals, but healthcare professionals aren't ready to identify or don't have the knowledge and the education to identify victims. So it became very important to our healthcare system to be able to educate and train our professionals, clinical and non-clinical staff, to recognize the signs and identify human trafficking victims right in the hospital setting.
What kind of things do you teach? What kind of things are you providing to the healthcare professionals for them to look out for? What kind of signs are they looking for?
Recognizing that the diagnosis of what the patient is coming, the presenting issue, what the patient is coming into the hospital for, and what the patient is saying is different. Not having ID, meaning that the patient came into the hospital not necessarily knowing what city they're in, not having the driver's license or any information like that. Also having someone in with the patient who is answering all the questions and domineering the conversation leads us to red flags that says, hey, there's something that we need to look at more into this conversation with this particular patient.
For example, somebody may be there who may be their quote pimp, or somebody who's
their trafficker. Correct. Right. They're dominating that conversation. So that pimp or trafficker is answering the questions and not giving the patient an opportunity to say what is really happening with them and what's going on. So we have educated our staff on how to separate the potential victim from the trafficker so that they have alone time with the patient to be able to identify and get down to the issue that is presenting.
What kind of success are you finding with this? Success is kind of a relative term in this regard. I mean, the success is that if you're able to get someone, identify them as being trafficked and being able to separate them out. Are you finding those examples where you're seeing those kinds of situations and you're successful in getting them into a different environment?
Yes, we have been successful. So some of the challenges are that children are automatically reported. So we have to report when we identify a child. There's no question about that. And we do report that to our local CPS and our law enforcement partners, the Houston Police Department Vice Division. But one of the things that we found is adults don't always want to report because of that fear. If they've been trafficked for a period of time and the trafficker has imparted that fear, that coercion, and forced them into a situation, they may not feel like they have an option. So one of the things things that we try to do is at least establish a relationship of care where we care for the victim and let them know that we're here. So if they ever decide to come back to our hospital setting, we're an avenue for them to come out.
That is a place of safety for them if they decide to come there.
A place of safety. And we've also created a pathway, which we call the PATH Collaborative, which is several partners within the healthcare system that come together to provide care, ongoing care for the trafficking victim. So we may identify him. We may, at our hospital at St. Luke's, we may be able to provide the direct presenting care, but when it comes to ongoing care that the victim may need as far as housing, ongoing health care that has been neglected for years and years, that they may need from a primary care physician, we really try to match them up with those care providers, and that happens through San Jose Clinic, our relationship with Baylor College of Medicine Anti-Human Trafficking Clinic, and that provides that ongoing care that the patient needs. So we just don't take care of the patient and discharge and hope that all is best. We've really created a pathway to make sure that the patient is taken care of for the long term.
Well, that is a fascinating example of what God's work is.
Absolutely.
It really is. And your bio indicates that God and prayer plays a big part in your life.
Absolutely.
How does faith come into play as you are on the front lines helping these people who are in these environments?
So as a trained chaplain at our hospital, one of the things that we have noticed is that when chaplains go in at the bedside with patients, they're more apt to share their story. They may, for the first time, feel comfortable enough to share that I'm a victim and feel like they're in a safe place. And may even reach out in some instances to have prayer. And if there's an opportunity for us to pray with or walk along someone in their most valuable and vulnerable moment, we are excited to be able to do that and share that prayer and share that faith.
Well, thank you for what you're doing. Good luck in the days and weeks and months and years ahead. I'm going to put information about your project on the Newsmakers website so people who want to get involved and find out more about it can do that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming in. God bless you, and thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
A look ahead to next week that concerns something most of us use every day, a sneak peek and final thoughts when Houston Newsmakers continues. Next week here on Houston Newsmakers, a look into our future, the future that is 5G technology. The president of Crown Castle is here. It builds the towers that 5G technology uses and will continue to use in what is a new and growing technology. How will your life be impacted? And what should you know about this new change in our lives? That's next week right here on Houston Newsmakers. Do you have ideas for this program? Let me know about it. Through Twitter, you can do that at KPRC2 Khambrel, hashtag HOU Newsmakers, or through email at HoustonNewsmakers@click2houston.com. Thank you so much for watching. Have a blessed day, and I hope to see you back here again next week.